USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2018 USA Ultimate College National Championships. Halfway through semifinal Sunday, we've seen a pair of universe point thrillers. We hope this one is no different. Pittsburgh, the 9 seed, Carleton, the 1 seed, ready for battle here in Milwaukee. A look at the bracket. North Carolina coming from behind to beat Oregon. Ego. Will they face Carleton or Pittsburgh tomorrow? We'll find that out over the next couple of hours. It's great to have you with us once again. With Ian Toner, I am Evan Leffler. Carleton and Pitt have won 5 of the last 9 college national titles in men's ultimate. Carleton's been the top seed, the favorite all year long, but Pitt might be peaking at the right time.
They are hitting their stride and getting contributions from the young players when they need it most. A scary thing to come across a streaky team in such a huge setting.
Well, everyone remembers that 2012 semifinal where Pittsburgh came from way down at the half to beat Carleton. That was Nick Kazmarek's first year as the coach. He's been with the program ever since. They won the title in 2012 and 2013. Dylan Best, a top 5 Callahan finisher this year, but Michael Ing is really the star that this Pittsburgh team relies on in key moments.
Ing is no stranger to these big games, having played in national semifinals and finals in the club division as well. He's capable of doing it all for Pittsburgh. He can start as an initiating cutter. He can be a shutdown defender. He's going to command the top matchup from Carleton's defense.
Pittsburgh has a handful of superstars, but Carleton is a team of standouts. So many players that have been learning to play Ultimate since middle and high school. Phil Bowen is back in charge. They're trying to win their 4th title since 2009, and standing tallest among the stars for cut, the big man, number 10, Henry Fisher.
There's no denying that his size and speed present the biggest challenge of any player on the cut roster for the Pittsburgh defense. He's someone who's going to be commanding the top matchup, opening up space for other receivers, and attacking the deep space whenever he can.
Most around the Ultimate world have been hoping for Carleton and Carolina. Can Pittsburgh spoil the party? We will find out. Pittsburgh and Sabah, Carleton College cut. It's on next. The 2018 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. And by Discraft, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now available at Midwest Meyer stores and over 2,000 retailers nationwide. Starting lineup for Pitt. Dylan Best, their Callahan nominee, with Matt Hanna, Noah Robinson, Michael Ing, Kevin Sway, the spectacular freshman Will Hoffenkamp, and the veteran handler Jonah Wish. For Kazmarek, Rainai Dropcho on the Pitt coaching staff. Carleton with Webb, Schock, Taylor, Bloodworth, Joe White, Saul Yannick, and David O'Day. This is the Carleton D-line that will start on the field after Cut won the flip. All season long, Carleton has been considered the favorite. It's been an interesting position. They've had to deal with that pressure. For more on that, we send it down to the field with Megan Tormey.
Thanks, Evan. Well, Coach Bowen talked about how well this team has handled the pressure going into this season. They knew they were the best, and it was very important for them to repeat that success. That's been the goal all along. Another interesting thing that Coach Bowen said that the team did is they set the roster for this year. He had nothing to do with who they decided to take on the team this season or not. So this is a team-built team that has brought themselves to the semifinals at college nationals.
Coach Bowen doesn't shy away from the fact. He says, we have the most talented team by far. It's in our control. Consulting there with Natan Lee Engel, who was a senior captain last year, now an assistant coach. Got basically the same leadership, and here we go. Pittsburgh on offense to start, wearing the black jerseys. Game was scheduled to begin about an hour and 17 minutes ago, but no harm done. Still plenty of night left for us here in Wisconsin. Earlier today, Pitt shredded the local Wisconsin Hodags. It was a blowout from the start. Carleton similarly had its way with Georgia. And we're playing parallel, 2 fields side by side. Neither game was ever all that close. Pittsburgh entered the tournament as the 9 seed in Pool D, which is always considered among the pools of death with the 4, 5, and 9 seeds all together. Pitt, Brown, and Washington all went 3-1, but Pitt's bigger win over Washington got them the point diff. Deep shot from Michael Ng, bodying out and hauling in the score.
We're going to see Callahan nominee Dylan Best shoot deep when Ng had a bit of separation. I'm sure that disc hung a little bit more than Best wanted it to, but Ng doing a great job keeping Tim Schock on his back shoulder, maintaining his position. Barely has to jump to come down with that one.
We often see future Callahan campaigns begin in big games for underclassmen. Michael Ng's a junior. He's certainly got at least one more year, maybe 2. Dylan Best, a worthy Callahan finisher this year, a top 5 finisher in the Callahan, won by Stanford's Gabe Hernandez. But Michael Ng is the total package. Carleton on offense. Padilla centering to Alex Olson, who had a sizzling semifinal and final a year ago. Olson over the top, Stan Birdsong. Back to Padilla. And a big gainer for Henry Fisher, the first touch. Wide open target in the end zone for cut. Alex Walker, all alone, ties things up at 1.
And you saw Henry Fisher catch that one underneath cut late in the count right here. And that's because his size and frame command so much respect that Mike Ng has to stay on his back shoulder. And at a high stall count, he can just decide to come underneath and be the release valve. A great finish here by Dylan Lanier, just floating that into the arms of Alex Walker.
Alex Walker, primarily a soccer player in high school, but one of the handful of North Carolina products on this Carleton team, which would just add that much more spice to a Carolina-Carleton matchup tomorrow. Dylan Lanier as well. Chapel Hill product. Teams know each other well. Carleton, Carolina, they met once this year. North Carolina getting the best of Carleton, jumping out to a 6-1 lead out at Stanford. That was a while ago, and things have certainly changed since then. Eric Taylor launches the pull. Turnover-free ultimate so far through 2. Dylan Best trying to get it to Ng, but jumping the passing lane was Saul Yannick. And then Yannick gives it right back, miscommunicating with his cutter, Luke Webb. Funny how turnovers come in bunches sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, that was just an unfortunate miscommunication. I think Yannick thought Webb was coming underneath.
Ng rifles long. Will it stay in bounds? No. Hoffenkamp could not keep it alive. Another chance for the Carleton D.
Hindsight's 20/20, but if Ng had put a little bit more outside in edge on that throw, there's a chance it might have bent in.
Back to live action, deep shot going up. And all alone is Ethan Bloodworth.
Evan, do you believe in the commentator's jinx?
No, but everybody else does.
Right after we had seen multiple points of clean ultimate, we see a handful of turnovers, and Carleton, the first to cash in on a break opportunity with this beautiful deep shot to Ethan Bloodworth.
Luke Webb launching it the length of the field. Carleton coach Phil Bowen saying no one on the team has made a bigger jump from last year to this year than Luke Webb, who a year ago at Nationals played sparingly. 3, 4, 5 points per game. This year he's been one of their top players. Phil Bowen said that Webb was their best player at the Stanford Invite. Carleton came in as the top seed, and they made a statement very quickly. Their first game against UMass, and they jumped out big in the first half against Zudisk, rolled to a 15-6 win. Struggled a little bit against Stanford, which was a tad surprising. But defeated Georgia 15-4. Many members of the Pitt O-line back out there, including Best. He's got the under. Best is a guy who's improved a ton since his freshman year. He barely played in his first year of college ultimate after playing a bit at Sharon High School in Sharon, Mass. Tremendous extension to keep that alive by Noah Robinson. And Robinson flips it into the end zone. Pittsburgh responds. Leo Warren coming across the field, and the junior from Atlanta evens the score at 2.
Took a little bit for this Pittsburgh offense to sniff out some of the poaches that came down on that first Carleton defensive look, but amazing work by Noah Robinson to save possession, with Eric Taylor so close to getting a hand on the disc. And then a nice job breaking the mark there in the red zone. And we're going to get another look here at the Pittsburgh D-line.
Leo Warren ready to pull. Taking a page out of the USA World Games team with the bleach blonde hair. One of the stories of 2018 College Nationals has been the dyeing of hair. It is to an egregious extent, in my opinion.
And the irony in this game is that the originator of that trend on last year's World Games team was none other than Grant Lindsley, who's here writing for USA Ultimate this weekend and is an alumnus of Carleton College.
Proud Carleton alum, Grant Lindsley. One of Carleton's most intense games every year is their annual alumni game. So many great players have come through Northfield, Minnesota. This year, the current Carleton team beat the alumni. And according to Grant, it was the result of Nick Stewart throwing 17 Huck turnovers. Deep shot deflected and knocked away by Harry McNamara.
And I think that Huck came off of Olsen's fingers awkwardly, definitely blading a lot more than he wanted it to. He's got the prowess to put more height and shape on that throw and make it catchable either to the force side or the break side. Just a miscue there from Olsen.
Pittsburgh's first chance to break. Kyle Hartley resets. Quick disc movement has been a staple of Pittsburgh teams. Here we go. What a shot. Into the hands of Hartley.
That was an absolute dime ball.
Dan Goldstein, Jr. from Needham, Mass. Put this on a platter. So each defense has gotten a break in the first few opportunities.
Yeah, surprised to see the cut offense broken this early. You know, Evan, you mentioned that Stanford surprisingly gave cut a game in pool play, but something that we talked about in the other men's semifinal was that the lack of challenge that these teams have faced to this point and how that's impacting their ability to come out with poise and consistency in a semifinal setting.
Pittsburgh 3-1 in Pool D. They lost to Brown, but they beat Washington by enough. There was a close game, Pitt and Washington, at the end of pool play, and it was kind of fascinating because if Washington won, they won the pool. If Pitt beat Washington by 1, Washington would have won the pool. We'll continue that as the deep shot goes up to Birdsong. Ing is there, and Birdsong goes up highest for the goal.
Well, that's some real trust from Dylan Lanier, who now has 2 assists. When he put this disc up, Birdsong didn't necessarily have separation. He's got the size advantage on Ing, and he uses his frame and size to body Ing out.
Ing is 6 feet, Birdsong 6'3". Birdsong, part of that scintillating sophomore class that were freshmen a year ago for Carleton's championship win over UNC Wilmington. Dylan Lanier, another member of that sophomore class. To finish the point about the Pitt-Washington game, if Pitt had beaten Washington by 1, Sun Dodgers win the pool. Because of point diff, if Pitt had beaten Washington by 2, Brown would have won the pool as a result of taking into account their results against the other teams in the pool, Victoria and Florida State. If Pitt had beaten Washington by 3 or more, Pitt would win the pool. Of course, that's what happened. Pittsburgh prevailing, and they won the pool straight in the quarterfinals, where they got a Wisconsin team that was not ready for prime time. Conversely, Brown ran into Oregon and Washington ran into North Carolina. Both Brown and Washington also had to play pre-quarters to get there. Jonah Wish to the middle of the field, Hoffenkamp. Oh, great handler defense. Yannick delivers.
Second block of the game for Yannick, the leader of this team, the unquestioned leader of the D-line as well.
High throw held onto by the leaping Webb. The throwing lanes are not all that large in many cases in this game. Trying to go up the line, floating it to space perfectly, but he could not stay in bounds. Whoa! No, he's out of bounds.
Bloodworth is incredulous, insisting that he dragged his toes. Are we able to see the yellow lines of his toes? Oh, it's so tough to tell from that angle.
Best sending Ing again. This one's too far.
Megan, how's the wind impacting any of the throwers down on the field so far?
The wind has definitely died down, especially when compared to earlier in today. Also, so much cooler, so much more comfortable. I don't think that the wind had any impact on that throw. It was really just eager to score the point that has been going back and forth.
Bloodworth's going again. There was contact. Pittsburgh comes flying through for the D. Robinson thought he had it clean. Let's see how this transpires.
At first glance, I find it hard to see a case for a foul.
Kevin Sway running with Ethan Bloodworth. What about on second glance?
It looked like Robinson just came in over him. If there was any contact in Bloodworth's back, it was after Robinson had made the play.
Looks like they're going to contest this, and neither side wants to go to the observer, so they will send it back.
What count are we at?
I think there was definitely some shoulder-to-shoulder contact between Swoo and Bloodworth as the disc was still alive over their heads.
And I think that's just incidental jockeying for position. No one has the clear advantage, and some of that's going to happen.
May have had a violation, someone moving too soon before the restart. Pretty good pace to this game, and neither team being bashful about shooting it deep.
And I think the fact that those storms rolled through has really made that possible, because the wind is gone, the wet conditions are gone. This is a perfect night for ultimate, a perfect night for throwers to shoot.
Bloodworth, duo day. Here's Joe White.
What do you think, Evan? How many more goal line hammers does Joe White have in him tonight?
Hopefully a bunch. Here's another deep shot, but miscommunication. Best had the leap first, but well, he was out of bounds. Eric Taylor comes down with a disc, but not inside the playing field.
That's a phenomenal effort on Taylor's part, trying to jump from inbounds and throw it back in with his offhand. To be sure, he did make contact with the ground out of bounds before releasing the disc. So even if that pass had been completed, it would count as an incompletion.
2 turnovers for each team on this Pittsburgh offensive point. And we've got a stoppage. It's a pick downfield. Wally Kwong, Stephen Wong, Keith Temple, and Jason Conrad, the 4 observers for this second men's semifinal.
Good communication downfield from the Carleton defenders in the cutting lanes, switching.
Best fires again. It's his 3rd huck. The first one was high but caught. The last 2 have been well too far ahead of Inc.
Well, in our pregame chat with Phil Bowen, he identified Dylan Best as one of their shooters that they're going to have to keep an eye on. They know he's going to take the deep shots. And he's living up to that reputation so far in these first few points, as Solyanek calls a timeout.
Usually if Carleton's D-line has 3 chances and a single point to break, they don't let that opportunity pass them by.
Veteran call here by Yannick, giving his team an opportunity to regroup, perhaps set a play call, catch their breath, especially when you've got 70 yards to go to cash in this break.
Carleton dominating UMass. Closest game against Stanford. No contest against Georgia. Believe Georgia led that game 2-1. And then Carleton woke up. And the way they played in the Georgia game, the way they played in the start of the UMass game, clinical is kind of the word to describe it. Super efficient, high energy, smart, powerful ultimate.
I'd say ruthless too, if we just want to keep throwing adjectives out there.
Yannick with possession, trying to earn the right to go up against his childhood buddy, Matt Gusho-Hannes. They've been friends since the first grade. Carolina Friends School in the North Carolina Triangle.
Good switching by the Pittsburgh defenders there too, taking away some of the underneath options as the Carleton stack moved down the field.
Pick downfield, slows down play. What stands out to you, Ian, about Carleton's fundamentals and the way they set up their cuts and run through the disc? It seems like they do the little things right, as good if not better than anybody.
Well, I think number one, they're very disciplined with their spacing. You don't find guys cutting each other off or hanging out too deep very frequently. They're very disciplined in that manner. And number two, it's just their cutting fundamentals are just so solid. They take several hard steps in one direction and plant and chop stop and come back underneath. They're not rounding their cuts or being indecisive. And the reason that's so effective is because they spend so much time in the offseason in the weight room.
That is not going to work because of Matt Hanna deflecting it for Pittsburgh. How about this? We had 4 total turnovers in the game's first 6 points. And now on this 7th point of the match, each team has turned it 3 times.
And the tension on the sideline as a result is absolutely mounting. Everyone has eyes on the disc, waiting to see whose team is going to be able to pull out the magical string that will lead to a score.
Here's another turnover.
Great help defense there from Tim Schock, pulling off his assignment to be that cap over the top once the deep shot went off. I think Ing would have overthrown his receiver no matter what, as Yannick is going to pick up on his own goal line once again.
70 yards away, first pass to White. Wide open receiver. Will it just stay in bounds? Greatest attempt into the signage. The 8th turnover of the 7th point of the semifinal.
How many more times is Eric Taylor going to have to attempt a greatest before this game ends? Glad he wasn't injured going into the signage there.
Best mark by Taylor. That one connects with Ing. Somehow. And Ing converts. Just another hold for Sabah.
And David O'Day is going to be kicking himself when he watches this film, because he was the help. Defense deep. As this shot goes up, you see he's already peeled off his man. He's in position. Just unable to make the play, and once there was that odd man rush down the pitch, Mike Ing able to find the open receiver.
So Pittsburgh retakes the lead 4-3. Goal and an assist so far for Ing. Last couple years, this Pitt program has certainly had plenty of talent. Of course, they won it all in 2012 and 2013. Were shocked in the 14 quarterfinals by UNC Wilmington. Lost to Central Florida, I believe, in the quarters the next year. Back in the semis in 2016. Eliminated last year prior to the Final Four again. Looking to the end zone. That'll work. And after the marathon point to give Pitt the 4-3 lead, it takes Carleton little time to respond with Harry Wolf Landau.
Dylan Lanier is having himself a game. You know, we talk about Henry Fisher being this great downfield matchup. We talk about Alex Olson being that amazing handler coming off a breakout performance at Nationals last year. Dylan Lanier's shot selection and execution have been perfect so far this game. Pittsburgh would be smart to put a top defender on Lanier.
Lanier, the sophomore, to Wolf Landau, the freshman. In case you thought the Carleton run might end after 2018, wouldn't bet on it.
Well, and in talking to Phil Bowen, it was so interesting to hear about some of the other talent that they have recruited and have attempted to recruit previously. John Randolph, the standout freshman from Brown, was a huge target for Phil Bowen and company.
Said he was going after him since he was in 9th grade. He was accepted at Carleton. He came and visited. He liked the team, but he chose Brown because of the engineering program. And ho-hum, Brown almost knocked off Oregon to get to the semifinals in Randolph's freshman season.
He's going to be having an impact on this stage for years to come.
Offsides on the pull. This one's coming back. Yeah, you wonder how Carleton, this tiny school in Northfield, Minnesota, has become such an ultimate powerhouse. They hardly get to practice outside all winter long. This year they had 2 outdoor practices before regionals because the ground just wouldn't thaw, the snow would not melt. They said they get 1 couple-hour block in an indoor facility each week, where they hardly ever work on zone. So the time they work on their zone is at tournaments, because it's not fun to work on zone in a no atmosphere environment indoors.
Well, talk about trial by fire, right? You know, playing against a defense you haven't really seen before and having to get it together when critical points of your season are on the line.
Best throw, not sure who it was intended for, but Hannah took charge. Best, a member of the USA U24 team that won gold in Perth.
Good switch there by Joe White, rolling off his assignment to take away Dylan Best's strike cut.
But Yannick beat up the line by Wish. It's a cut that'll frustrate Yannick a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, you saw him visibly frustrated right afterwards. It's so difficult to be that defender in the dump position or the front of the stack, because there are so many angles in those small spaces that you've got to account for. And, you know, credit to Yannick for making Wish work hard, but the face guard was his undoing there in that setting.
So despite a couple bumps in the road for both teams, we're on serve here in the first half. Each team has 1 break. First goal for Jonah Wish, who's missed some time during his career with some injuries, but one of the cornerstones of the program as it currently resides in 2018. Noah Robinson, 6'5" junior from Cape Elizabeth, Maine. You think Carleton feels any differently about this matchup 9 points in compared to how they felt at the start of the game?
Well, I'm sure Phil Bowen would tell you no. In the minds of all the players, I bet you'd get a different answer.
So you're saying we're going to need some kind of lie detector test?
Yeah, just hook them up to the polygraph at halftime. We can get the truck to bring that out, right?
Season of SNL is over, so Robert De Niro's available. Great defense from Dylan Tranquillo.
Not a shot we see Henry Fisher take often. And credit to Tranquillo for elevating and staying close enough to Lanier to make the play.
Sneaking up the line. Hafiz Shams. Great story, former member of the Pitt B team. Elevated onto the squad. Gained an important role. That snuck over Birdsong, but Pittsburgh could not come up with it.
And that might have connected had Birdsong not gotten a finger on it and changed the course.
Marcel Olliard, oh so close. Another Pitt freshman.
We have a stoppage here on the field. Pick called downfield.
This Pittsburgh team in 2018 has 9 rookies, 7 of which are freshmen. Also have 7 players who at one point were on the B team. They've used that B team to develop. Another gorgeous throw. And into the end zone for Cut.
Dylan Lanier, ladies and gentlemen.
Some kind of half he's having.
If you don't know his name, we're going to be calling it in semifinals and finals matchups for years to come. A sophomore with incredible confidence and poise.
Pittsburgh missing a break opportunity, and Lanier made him pay in a hurry. Wolf Landau scored again.
What do you think, Evan? Is it the bleach blonde hair that's really elevating his game tonight?
I think it's years of practice, to be honest. The bleach blonde hair is a look, though. It wasn't just bleach hair. We saw red hair and green hair and blue hair and pink hair. All different kinds of concoctions created by the current generation of Ultimate's best. You ever dye your hair for Ultimate?
That was not a thing our team did. Certainly grown my hair out for it.
Megan, you ever dye your hair for Ultimate?
I would always dye one streak of my hair, either pink, purple, or red.
A legend before her time. In a 5-all game, on serve first half, second men's semifinal at Nationals. Noah Robinson. At 6'5", he's got a great reach. He's tough to mark, although he's being mirrored by Joe White, who's not small either. Best is going to try the backhand again. And Ing rises up, and then he had it poked away, and it's going to be a goal. No contest from Luke Webb, and the score stands for Michael Ing.
It's amazing how deep some of these receivers are when Dylan Best decides to take his shots. Doesn't have 100% completion percentage tonight, but that one ended up working. He's got a lot of faith in Mike Ing, who's been on the receiving end of his hucks for a couple years now.
What impresses you most about Ing?
I think it's his body control, especially on deep shots like those. You know, whatever he's going to bid defensively or box someone out, it's really easy to lose control, lose your footing, initiate contact that you don't want to, or that may result in a foul, but he's just got such coordination and overall body control. I don't know how else to describe it, that he's so valuable to his team downfield.
Carleton O-line ready to receive. Padilla fields the pull and sends it to Alex Olson. Olson's now a senior, and the word is the offense will be run by Padilla next year. Wolf Landau to the end zone, knocked away. Oliart comes from the backside and poaches for the D.
Great recognition by Oliart, peeling off his assignment. If he doesn't come and help there, Lanier's able to play the overthrow perfectly and come down with the goal.
This is only Pittsburgh's third chance to break. They got the break back at 3-2 to take the lead. Unable to break when they were up 5-4. Carleton tied it at 5. Collision in the field stops play. A pick involving Olson and Ing. What are your thoughts on Carleton's O-line playing defense?
I think they're doing a great job not giving up any easy deep shots, making Pittsburgh work it up the field slowly and methodically. And I think forcing that offensive unit to call a timeout is a victory for the Pittsburgh O-line, or excuse me, for the Carleton O-line defense.
Leo Warren will have the disc when play resumes. Pittsburgh leading 6-5. You see Nick Kazmarek. He has brought a stability to this program since he took over in 2012. Immediately won a couple of championships behind Tyler DiGirolamo and Alex Thorne and Max Thorne, a young Trent Dillon, Pat Earls. Plenty of stars have come through the Pittsburgh program. They started off with a win over Florida State, beat Victoria by 6, had the slip up against Brown on Saturday morning, but then responded with a 4-goal win against Washington. They needed to beat Washington by 3 to win the pool. They got the win by 4, and then just rolling past the Hodags 15-8.
The Pittsburgh D-line offense coming out of that timeout late, having to rush into position and get set, or they couldn't move anymore.
That happens more often than I feel like it should, where O-lines out of a timeout get frozen in spots on the field where they didn't necessarily plan on being because they didn't get there quickly enough and the observer yells freeze.
And that's where the coach just has to be decisive in the timeout and initiate the play call in the huddle right away.
Ing inbounds. That swing will be chased down by Ing. He had Miles Cooper going long. Cooper, a speedy freshman from Westchester, PA. How patient is Pittsburgh willing to be? Not patient anymore, but they've got Ing going deep, and he rises up. 7-5 Pittsburgh. What a grab.
The commentator's jinx strikes again as the deep shot comes up after so many throws of patience. Ing elevating, making the grab in double coverage.
How high was that disc when he caught it?
Let's get another look at it here. It's a solid 9.5 feet off the ground. Not quite dunking.
Ian, Evan, you could tell that Pittsburgh sensed how important that point was. I almost felt like some of the cutters in the stack were hesitant to be the ones to cut. Left Ing to do the dirty work, cutting to the back corner of the end zone and catching in double coverage.
And you know, late in these marathon points, especially after you've called a timeout, it can be difficult for your offense to maintain its focus and its identity, and for everyone to understand that, hey, I'm the next guy on the block to make the cut. No matter if you're going to be covered, you can still be making space for that next teammate to get open.
Alex Olson fires deep immediately. Lanier shy of the goal line. Back to Olson. Over the top. And caught. Stan Birdsong. If he waited a split second longer to attack the disc, it would have been a D.
That throw was reminiscent of Joe White's crossfield goal line hammer in the semifinal last year. Good vision from Olson. He probably would have wanted it to be a little more direct and not hang quite as long. But Birdsong attacking at the right moment, preventing Kyle Hartley from getting the block.
Birdsong just has that prototypical ultimate body. Tall, thin, lanky, 6'3", able to elevate, great speed. Paideia product from Atlanta. USA U20 player as well. Phil Bowen has mentored a bunch of those guys who have played for the U20, U24, USA teams. Pittsburgh has had a bunch as well. Pittsburgh trying to do what Oregon did in the first game, which was take an 8-6 lead into the half. Of course, North Carolina came back and won 14-13 in a great game. Carleton shows zone for the first time.
And this is what they want, pinning the Pittsburgh offense back in its own end zone, close to a sideline. Jonah Wish is going to be one to hammer out of it and take a shot when he has it.
You called it. It's a good shot. Hannah quickly back to the handler set. And it appears that hammer has forced Carleton out of its initial zone defense, and now they're matching up, and now they're coming up with an underneath D. Luke Webb showing off the speed and the acceleration. Another break chance for Cut. It'll come back in on one after the pick. is White. That's not going to work. Trying to get fancy. Not sure he needed to do that.
Well, to White's credit, I saw what he saw. Taylor with a small window on the break side, and one of the only ways to get that there quickly is a scuba, but I think the disc just hung onto his finger a split second longer than he had wanted it to.
Overthrowing best on a simple open side cut.
And that's fatigue rearing its head there, Evan.
In the tight space. Taylor up the line. White looks him off. Swings it around for Bloodworth.
Lots of switching by that front cone by the Pittsburgh defenders, making sure that no upline cut is going to get away easily.
We're seeing fatigue from both sides. Going deep, Matt Hanna. He's in bounds about 5 yards shy of the goal line as momentum takes him to the line. Back to Ing.
And that's an important reset because Hanna didn't have a lot of help and the stall count was rising. But Ing there to get him out of trouble.
Kevin Trey. To Best. Ing swings it. Close but not in yet to Wish. Lefty, end zone, got it! High release, lefty, backhand from Jonah Wish. Takes it to half.
Wish, never one to shy away from pulling the trigger. Picks the disc up as soon as it's turned over. Finds Hanna. And then what poise on the goal line. A cheeky little offhand backhand that more and more throwers are adding to their arsenal and surprising the mark and the downfield defense. And who would have thought this Pittsburgh and Sabah team struggling early in the season, now taking half on the defending champion, Carleton College.
Pittsburgh was broken first in this half. Carleton got one at 2-1. Pittsburgh broke back at 3-2 and then again to go up 7-5. Carleton will receive the disc to start the second half, but Pittsburgh leads by 2 at the break. Megan Tormey down on the field with Pittsburgh coach Nick Kazmarek.
Thanks so much, Evan. Nick, is this what you thought the result would be at halftime going into this game?
I would say going into games, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen. I knew we were going to bring a lot of defensive intensity, and I knew that we would be able to respond to any mistakes that we made. So we made a few mistakes early in the game, gave up an early break. We got back on top, pulled off a break back. I think we're in a great spot right now, so I'm excited about how hard we're playing defensively and how, most importantly, how we're responding to our mistakes right now.
You know Carleton is going to come out with some major firepower in the second half. What are you going to talk to your team about to make sure they are poised and ready?
Well, I think at halftime we just need to stay as focused as we can on finishing the second half. We had a game against Washington yesterday that was very similar in the first half, really tight, hard fought, and we pulled away in the second half, and that's what we're going to need to do here. We're just going to keep fighting. We're going to keep working. Nothing is over until score is 15 or whatever it gets to in this game.
Some fantastic play from Michael Ing. What does a player like that mean to your team?
Michael's inspirational for all the other players, but all the other guys are making huge plays too, and they just respond to him, but he gets fired up because of them, and that's where we're at right now.
Well, it's a full team effort. We wish you luck in the second half. Thanks so much, Nick.
Thank you.
Back to you, Evan.
The effort calculating, Nick Kazmarek. 8-6, his Pittsburgh team leads the #1 seed at the half. We had the 12 seed make it to the finals in the women's bracket. Could the 9 seed do it in the men's? 8-6, Pitt.
There is a place where we are us at our best.
A place where everyone is welcome.
Regardless of age, shape, skin color, or anything else that tries to box people in.
A place where we defy the odds, defy the naysayers,
And even defy gravity.
A place where it's accepted that success
doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave, to the determined.
A place that knows grit, knows grace, knows bright lights, and knows empty bleachers.
A place where we remember to laugh.
Where we learn to trust.
Learn to high-five strangers.
And eventually, even learn to fly.
A place where character, community, and competition
are all as balanced as a disc in flight.
That place isn't in a stadium or on a field.
That place is in the spirit of our players.
Because we don't just play ultimate, we live ultimate.
Well, the Pittsburgh men's ultimate team leads Carleton 8-6 at the half. For the moment, they're focused on the women's Callahan presentation, where Carolyn Normile is a top 5 finalist. We'll have more on that in a little bit, but first we'll take a look at the first half highlights, where Pittsburgh had 2 breaks, Carleton had 1, and both teams were not shy about shooting it deep.
Yeah, Mike Ing opened up the deep scoring, boxing out Tim Schock early on and sending a statement that he was going to be a downfield factor. And then Dylan Lanier started his incredibly hot first half. Evan, at what point do we have to put him on Schmaltz or Stubbs' watch for a 10-goal, 10-assist, 10-point performance?
He's been spectacular, no question about it. And yet, Carleton trails at the half. Why?
At the end of the day, other players on the Carleton offense started taking shots that they didn't need to. And Pittsburgh able to grind out the marathon points and persevere and cash in breaks like this one. Beautiful throw from Goldstein to Hartley. And we get another look here at another perfect deep ball from Dylan Lanier. Mike Ing continuing to figure in the first half, scoring as well.
I wonder if Carleton has an answer for Ing.
When we spoke to Phil Bowen before the game started, he talked about Joe White taking that matchup a lot, but to be honest, Evan, we haven't seen Joe White taking that matchup. He's been focused on the larger Noah Robinson. So perhaps Phil Bowen will make some personnel assignment adjustments in the second half. So we get another look at Jonah Wish's phenomenal offhand backhand.
That took it to half. Callahan finalists are being introduced. We'll have that information and more when we return to Milwaukee. 8-6, Pittsburgh leads Carleton at the half in our second men's semifinal.
Welcome back. Our coverage of the second men's semifinal of the 2018 College National Championship continues. Halftime is winding down, and Carleton, the #1 seed coming into this game, into this tournament, is trailing Pittsburgh 8-6. I'm joined by head coach of Carleton, Phil Bowen. Phil, going into this game, you said that the game was 100% within your control. What controllable variables are you going to change in the second half?
I think definitely our decision-making with the disc. We've been a little free shooting it deep, and I think also just some of the X's and O's in terms of how we're spacing ourselves offensively. I love our defensive pressure. I think that's going to pay off in the second half, and we're going to start getting some of those turns and converting them to goals.
Is there any strategic adjustment defensively to try and limit Michael Ing's contribution in this game?
Well, it's tough to limit his athleticism with any strategery, but we can certainly try and force him underneath and make him do the throwing instead of the catching. I think we definitely have the athletes that can do that and play some help defense over the top.
You guys are certainly accustomed to high pressure situations, but finding yourself in a deficit is not something that you are used to. How is everyone handling another team taking half?
It's a great opportunity for us to figure out who we are under pressure and with some adversity. You're right, we haven't really had that much this year, but I am confident that we're going to be able to figure out how to deal with it.
The Sage Phil Boeing finding the silver lining. We will see what happens in the second half after this break.
There is a place where we are us at our best.
A place where everyone is welcome.
Regardless of age, shape, skin color, or anything else that tries to box people in.
A place where we defy the odds,
defy the naysayers,
and even defy gravity.
A place where it's accepted that success
doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave, to the determined.
A place that knows grit, knows grace, knows bright lights, and knows empty bleachers.
a place where we remember to laugh,
where we learn to trust,
learn to high-five strangers,
and eventually even learn to fly.
a place where character, community, and competition
are all as balanced as a disc in flight.
That place isn't in a stadium or on a field.
That place is in the spirit of our players.
Because we don't just play ultimate, we live ultimate.
Moments ago, Jacqueline Kobe Wynn from Cal Berkeley announces the 2018 Callahan Award in the women's division. A rare situation where the Callahan Award winner not only isn't playing at Nationals, but isn't attending Nationals. Here she was watching out in California, and there should be some video that USA Ultimate has covertly retrieved to see Wynn's reaction. Congratulations to the layout artist known as Kobe.
Yeah, I can imagine it's like one of those setups where the camera crew is in the team's home when the player gets selected on draft day.
Right.
A celebration like that.
Scoring summary from the first half. Michael Eng, 3 goals. Dan Birdsong and Wolf Landau each had 2. 3 assists for Dylan Lanier, making some very impressive plays for Carleton. Cut begins the second half on offense. Their team trailing by 2. Pittsburgh to pull. For the second straight semifinal, the score 8-6 at the half. Earlier today, North Carolina came from behind to beat Oregon. Can Carleton do the same to give us the top 2 seeds in the championship match on Memorial Day Monday? Fisher taking off. You don't send it to him. Is that the type of thing they're talking about, decision-making all at halftime, so they want to be conservative and they get Lanier maybe a better look and make it look easy?
All right, it's on. Stubbs watch, Schmaltz watch, whatever you want to call it.
I gotta say, I think you're being a little too aggressive here. Those were one-man, one-woman shows. Lanier's been good. He's been involved in 4 of the 7 scores.
Let's see what the stat line ends up at for the end of this game.
Okay.
I agree he's not the only playmaker, but the proof is on the stat sheet.
Wolf Landau, a couple goals in the first half, picks up the assist. Of the 15 goals in this game, 9 of them have been scored at the conclusion of turnover-free points. Phil Bowen was the head coach of the Carleton women's team from 2003 to 2006. Took over the men's team in 2010. Carleton alum, class of '96. Pittsburgh's first O point of the second half.
And the Carleton defensive look stopping Pittsburgh's first called sets.
Wish unwinds, he's got an open man deep and he puts it on the money and he's in the end zone. Noah Robinson wide open. The Carleton defense may have cut off the first throw, but it backfired eventually.
Yeah, as soon as Wish was able to sneak up line here, he had a wide open throwing lane to Robinson. I don't think White was expecting Wish to get power position there. You saw after that score, and Sabah alums Trent Dillon and a few others cheering their fellow Pittsburgh players on.
Pittsburgh program played its first season in 1998. One of the founders of the team, William Brotman, better known as Brody, on the sideline as usual with his camera, taking photos for Ulti Photos and more specifically for Pittsburgh. The Pitt program made nationals for the first time in 2005. They've been here every year since, 14 consecutive trips to nationals. Chris Padilla's been fairly quiet. Stan Birdsong has made a bunch of plays. Resets for Olsen. And the D by Oliart, maybe.
I think Padilla is claiming that he had stopped rotation of the disc. Let's listen into this on-field conversation.
Hey, are you sending it back or sending it to us? All right, as we're ruling, that is a foul. It's going to stay here. All right, technical and black.
Observer ruling that Padilla had it. You agree?
Hard to tell from that angle. Gonna have to send that back to the war room and look at it for a few minutes before I make a decision.
Oh, kept alive by Olsen. Fisher. Nice push. Olsen breaks the mark. Picks up the assist to Fisher.
And you saw Alex Olsen kind of step into quarterback mode once Carleton got in the red zone. He lays out to save possession on a throw that absolutely was not to him, and then basically goes every other, working the disc deeper and deeper into the red zone, and finally sets up the score with this nice little inside flick to the big man, Henry Fisher.
Alex Olsen, a Seattle product, in his final season with Cut, trying to go off with back-to-back titles. Henry Fisher as well in his final year. Senior from Durham. Fisher, one of the 4 players for Carleton who has seen time with The club team Raleigh Ring of Fire. Also Yannick, Lanier, and Taylor. It's crazy to think that if Carleton plays Carolina tomorrow, it'll be Carleton with more ring guys currently on the roster.
That's right.
Than Darkside.
Good defense from Ethan Bloodworth.
Like
closing.
Who will the ring guys be rooting for if it's Carolina Carleton?
I want to say Carolina.
You'd think so. Pittsburgh across midfield. Deep shot from Trey. Leaping grab in the end zone for Robinson. And Pittsburgh's offense continues to convert.
Well, Trey had no options late in the stall count. Didn't want to turn it over at midfield. What better option than Noah Robinson late in the stall count? And you saw those final few steps, Joe White just realizing, I'm not going to get there.
As this game gets into the deeper stages, how does Pitt's confidence grow? And how does Carleton handle this adversity? Megan, have you sensed any nerves at all from either side down there on the sideline?
Well, certainly no nerves from Pittsburgh. They are dedicated and devoted to this game. Everyone on the sideline is making sure that the defensive line is appropriately matched, is appropriately spoken to on the sideline. So they're following intently. There may be 7 on the field, but they are the whole team strong on the sideline.
Back to Padilla. No turnovers yet in the second half from either side. 4 straight turnover-free holds. And the disc drops.
Great poach block there by Dylan Tranquillo, peeling off his man and getting a finger on the disc at the last second.
Another break for Pittsburgh. The largest lead of the game is 3.
So Padilla saw Lanier streaking in. Oh, and I think Lanier might have dropped it. I'm not sure if Tranquillo actually got his finger on it, but the pressure definitely impacted his ability to make the grab.
Dan Goldstein punctuates the point, and it's a timeout for Carleton. Pittsburgh trying to stay fired up with Kasmerick and Wish leading the charge.
It's amazing to look at the difference in body language and energy between these two huddles. The energy boiling over in the Sabah Nur huddle. And Cut just trying to collect itself and regain their footing.
Carleton has not had a situation like this, certainly in a game of this magnitude. They fell behind, way behind Darkside early out at Stanford. Very different circumstances right now. Natan Lee Engel was the guy that did the talking on the line last year for the Carleton offense. And while he's no longer able to play, as an assistant coach. He still is the vocal presence before most points for cut. Leo Warren with the pull.
A lot of the same personnel out here on this point for both teams.
Miles Cooper very close to the D there for Pitt.
Nice save by Eric Taylor, one of the new additions for this point.
Lanier almost threw into the poach. Birdsong got taken out. Unfortunate collision with Goldstein.
And the observers are conferring here, determining whether or not they're going to issue a personal or technical misconduct foul. And Goldstein gets a yellow personal misconduct foul card.
I don't know, Ian. Sometimes I see a blue card come out in that situation, and sometimes I see a yellow, and I still don't really understand. One's a personal misconduct foul, one's a team misconduct foul, but for a lot of individual dangerous plays, team misconduct fouls are awarded. Anyway, to more important matters. Oh, goodness, Henry Fisher right through the hands. Carleton crumbling right now. Shams. Hartley. Over to Warren.
That Pittsburgh stack is awfully deep.
Throwing into double coverage, including Fisher defensively, and it doesn't matter. Marcel Oliart seemed to have it, but did he hang on through the contact?
Oh, that's definitely a strip.
Okay, it's a contested strip. Do you want a ruling or do you want to play it as a contest? Do you? You need to know the. It's not. Yeah.
If it's a observer ruling, it's either going to be a turnover or a score. Otherwise, back to throw. I'm going to go to you.
All right. Our ruling.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Our ruling that it is a strip.
Count it. 12-8 Pittsburgh.
Just wanted to make sure because he was saying, you know, it's not my fault if he brings it down on me.
Talk about rising to the occasion. Oliart making the play over the taller Henry Fisher. Fisher was just trying to make up ground, keeping his eyes on the receiver and never checked back in at the disc. If he had, and yes, our hindsight is 20/20, he might have been able to take a quick swat at it and block that disc, but Oliart with the better read and the clutch grab for Pittsburgh.
That's back-to-back breaks. And ever since Carleton got a break on the third goal of the game, the only breaks have gone to Pitt. And Sabah with pristine play from its O-line, and Nick Kazmarek's team is 3 goals away from another trip back to the final. What can Carleton discover about itself here as they try to dig deep with their backs against the wall? Taylor. Back for Padilla. I gotta say, this Pittsburgh defense is making every throw tough.
Yeah, they're not giving up separation for those downfield receivers until much later in the count, if at all.
Yannick typically on the D-line. Dire circumstances, he's out there. Padilla into the red zone. Carleton trying to snap a 3-0 run that took the score from 9-8 to 12-8.
Just moving a little too quickly there. Olsen puts the disc out of Taylor's reach. And 9 minutes until the soft cap. Pittsburgh holding a 4-goal lead. They're going to call the timeout with a chance for another break. And that's kind of just lazy stuff from Olsen. And have a barbecue inside backhand. I know that's a small space, but, and sometimes that's an acceptable throw, but I think a flick could have hit him in the chest a little better.
Is it possible to try to stay calm on the field on offense in this atmosphere on Sunday night at Nationals?
Now, I was down there on the sideline for the last game, had nothing to do with the on-field outcome, and I could feel every single heartbeat.
Warren picks up and turns it over immediately. That's Pitt's first turnover of the second half. Yannick to the end zone. Carleton has life. Joe White brings cut within 3.
That's almost a bread and butter connection there for this Carleton squad. Yannick picking up the disc in the red zone. An inside shot to one of his favorite targets, Joe White. They don't love the turnover before this. And speaking of turnovers, there's the Pitt turnover coming out of the timeout, but great execution from Yannick and White. And the clock's ticking.
Now, one thing I wonder here from a Carleton perspective is personnel in this intense situation. How many O-line guys will switch over to play D? Do they sacrifice keeping those guys fresh? I mean, there's not much left to play for if you don't rally really fast.
So after taking a point off, we're going to see Henry Fisher back out there. Going to play defense. I want to see him forcing his matchup out, no matter who it is, because he's got the speed and size to make up the ground. As Eric Taylor with a huge outside in pull for the Carleton defense.
Hung in the air for a while, but didn't go more than 50 yards or so down the field. But lands on the sideline, and Carleton sets up a junky look. Wish carves it up over the top to a wide open Matt Hanna. Carleton doesn't call fire though. Immediately they stay in it.
Hanna and Robinson doing a great job of spacing Henry Fisher, the deep in the zone, just out of the frame, making him choose which sideline he's going to cheat over to more. And the more he does that, the more room there is for Jonah Wish or Dylan Best to hammer over the top to one of those deep wing options.
Another sharply thrown hammer for Wish. Didn't leave any extra float to give Carleton a chance to make a play. Carleton still hasn't matched up. And they pay the price. Jonah Wish carving up the Carleton D, connecting with Robinson for the score, 13-9.
Excellent spacing downfield by Noah Robinson and Matt Hanna. The way they communicated and stuck to their sidelines and worked like deep pistons together opened up opportunities for each other for Jonah Wish to hammer over the zone twice, gain critical yardage, and then just poor transition defense from Carleton once they tried to lock into man-to-man here in the red zone.
Fair to say Jonah Wish has outplayed Alex Olson so far in this game?
Absolutely, and Jonah Wish is usually a little more trigger happy.
Three assists, but his impact not totally explained by those numbers. Deep shot goes up, looking for Lanier, shy of the goal line. But this is going to come back because of a travel call.
Hafiz Shams, the offside marker, claiming that Birdsong dragged his pivot foot on the release, going to the observer, and the observer upholds the travel call. So let's get a look here. Birdsong's going to pivot, take a step back. Oh. Maybe a travel before the throw, but on the release. That was tough to spot or prove.
Certainly a little ticky-tack. Brings the disc back to Carleton on its own side of the field. Cut trailing by 4. Tough grab by Fisher.
This Pitt defense right now is suffocating.
Olson fires, and it finds its way to Lanier. It looked like that disc changed direction about 2/3 of the way through its flight.
That's the second time we've seen one of those deep flick shots from Alex Olson not come off the way he intended it to. Yes, it got there, but he did not want that much blade. He wanted to lead Lanier even deeper into the end zone. Tranquilo so close. Cooper coming in on the backside, but Lanier pads his stats just a little bit more. 5 points on the night.
We're about 1 minute away from reaching the soft cap, which will only be a factor if Carleton makes a run. This Carleton team, 33-2 in the regular season. The consensus #1 squad coming into nationals. On defense, down by 3. Late in the second men's semifinal. Wish breaks the mark to Ing, who's been quieter in the second half, mainly because the story's been Pitt's D-line.
Yeah, his supporting cast has risen to the occasion. Another late deep shot here from Best.
Robinson elevates and scores! What a game for Noah Robinson. The 21-year-old junior brings Pitt within 1 score of the final.
And again, Joe White doesn't even go in to try and make a play. That's the second or third time tonight we've seen this. So late in the count that the disc goes up. Joe White doesn't even try to make a play. At the very least, you got to put your body up against him and make him feel uncomfortable as he's going up. Robinson is owning this matchup tonight, and that is not something we expected coming into this game.
We were talking about Dylan Lanier, and he's been good, but Noah Robinson has 4 goals since halftime.
And all 4 of those goals have looked absolutely effortless. Even with defense around, they haven't put the pressure on. His timing has just been impeccable. He sails up and comes down with the disc without contest.
Dylan Best with another assist. If Carleton can rally, this game would be hard to 16. But Pittsburgh could win it here with another break. Lanier under for Birdsong. Padilla was going deep. Pittsburgh switched a little bit, which enabled the open man to come underneath. That was Taylor. A pick was called downfield.
Yep. Miles, you're alone. Just stick it. It's just solo, Miles. Let's go, Miles. Let's go, Miles.
Yeah, it stays. It stays.
Kyle, West, Kyle, you're good. Kyle, middle. Kyle, middle.
Olsen sneaks it up the line to Yannick. And Sol Yannick, the leader of this team, will try to get his squad fired up for an epic comeback. And they'll try to do to Pitt what Pitt did to them 6 years ago in this round.
Yannick loves the red zone give and go. Just ruthless as soon as that disc comes out of his hand, attacking that front cone. Olsen putting that disc on the money. Now or never for Carleton.
Can Carleton stop the Pittsburgh offense? Pitt as a team has only turned it over once in the second half. 10 turnovers in the game, four of which were on that 1 point at 3-all. That lasted a long time. That ended with a Pittsburgh goal. Trey out there with Hoffenkamp, Wish, Ing, Best, Hannah.
And Noah Robinson.
Of course. Can Pittsburgh return to the finals at Nationals?
Saw Yannick hustling down there, taking away the centering throw to Jonah Wish. Got Henry Fisher matched up on Mike Ing downfield.
To Best. This is where he's been eager to launch, connects with Robinson. He'll take the shot, he's got an open man. Pittsburgh wins! 15-11. The dream season for Carleton comes to an abrupt end.
I'm not sure what Joe White was thinking there. Defending on an island, a tough spot, but beaten deep once again with little chase. As soon as this goes up, Matt Hanna, he's given up at least 3 inches to Joe White. There's a better way to defend against that, and Pittsburgh capitalizing on every opportunity that's been given to them tonight.
Can you believe it? Pittsburgh back in the final for the first time in 5 years. We will not have back-to-back champions in the men's division. The number 9 seed Pittsburgh, 15-11, shocking number 1 Carleton. We'll be back to Milwaukee after this. The 2018 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Spin Ultimate, providing custom team uniforms and ultimate apparel since 2007. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com. And by Discraft, the official disc of USA Ultimate, now available at Midwest Meyer stores and over 2,000 retailers nationwide. Wow, Pittsburgh 15-11 over Carleton. The number 1 seed and defending champ is done. Our play of the game brought to you by Discraft, home of the Ultra Star. In the second half, Noah Robinson scored not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 second half goals for the 6'5" junior.
And it didn't matter whether he had someone on him, whether he was wide open in the deep space, he found ways to make plays under pressure.
And by the way, he threw the game-winning goal to a wide open Matt Hanna. Pittsburgh over Carleton. Kyle Robinson with Megan Tormey.
Thanks so much, Evan. Noah, first of all, you were playing an opponent that was not only the favorite going into this tournament, but really the favorite going into the season. What were you thinking about coming into this game?
We came into it just with the mindset that we needed to get it done. It was just another team. We just took our minds off of it, played it just one game. It was just one game, not thinking about tomorrow, just thinking about this one game, and yeah, that was for this one.
During this second half, if it was possible, you guys seemed to become even more electric against this Carleton squad. What adjustments did you make during the second half that led to even smoother offense? Well, fantastic defense to get the break and then even smoother offense.
We just took a deep breath, realized that it's just one more half. One more half. We needed to keep ourselves alive to be able to play together as a team one last time tomorrow. So yeah. As your goals started mounting, how did you feel every time you saw the disc sailing in the air towards you? Just one higher level. Each goal is just one higher level. It broke through. Well, you obviously had a fantastic game tonight, both you as an individual and you as a team. So congratulations, and we're excited to see what you do tomorrow. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Back to you, Evan.
Yeah, it'll be Pitt and North Carolina tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central, live on ESPNU. We won't get Carolina-Carleton, but Pitt-Carolina is kind of tasty too, isn't it?
Pittsburgh handing North Carolina their only loss in this regular season. The most appetizing non-Carleton-Carolina matchup we could think of.
Thank you.
Pittsburgh, the 2-time champ, trying to win for the first time in 5 years. Carolina trying to make it 2 titles in 4 years. They won in Milwaukee 3 years ago, trying to reprise that finish here in Wisconsin again. 3 down, 1 to go. Stanford and Dartmouth women's semifinal coming up. But for now, for Ian and Megan, this is Evan saying so long from Milwaukee. All games on the ESPN network, streaming live on the ESPN app. Log on to watch ESPN.com to watch the replay. This was a good one, especially for Pittsburgh. It's been a presentation of ESPN. Pittsburgh victorious over Carleton.